Hello and welcome to Elevating Our Stories. I'm your host, Sylvia Ewing, a Principal Director at Elevate. For this episode, we're elevating stories of the new clean energy economy workforce and how it's addressing climate change and ensuring social equity. And with us today for an exciting conversation about Elevate's workforce program is Shirlondra Brooks, Associate Director of Workforce and Contractor Development, and Tiffany McFerren, Project Manager of Contract Development. We'll also get a visit from Ernie, the LED light bulb, and my co-host Amrit Such for some seasonal energy saving tips. But let's get started with these exciting women who are also fabulous as well as smart. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
We're so glad that you're here. So Shirlondra, Tiffany, let's start out with what you do at Elevate. Tell us a little bit about your role and how long you've been here, and I'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you, Sylvia. I have been with Elevate for 3.5 years, and I am based in Chicago, and I do a lot of the workforce and contractor development work in multiple markets. So when you think of Oregon, Wisconsin, Kansas City, just super excited about the work that we're doing and the lives we're changing.
Well, we're so lucky to have you. I can't believe it's been 3 years already.
Yeah.
That's why I have gray hair. Tiffany, what about you? How long have you been here and what do you do?
Wow.
Besides everything, with me, because I'm your friend.
It will be 2 years this coming August 2nd that I've been at Elevate. I'm the project manager of a contractor and development department, and I develop the contractors that we service within our workforce development department.
Well, and that gets me to a key point. Your work is really in two parts, right? You have workforce and also contractor development. Break that down for us.
Absolutely. So you're correct that it's two parts. And so the workforce part really focuses on educating communities when you think of career pathways and training, introducing individuals to careers in the clean energy economy. So our focus is working with community-based organizations as well as institutions of higher education to really think about what are the needs of the community, what are people saying in terms of expressed needs. So that's the first part of our work. And the second part of our work is the contractor development piece. And that's when we're really thinking about how we're serving BIPOC contractors in the clean energy economy and those who are interested in actually scaling their business to work in the clean energy economy. And then it's just amazing work. And I know Tiffany, I do a lot of work in both sections, but Tiffany also does a lot of the work on the contractor side of it. So I also want to make sure that I'm kicking it to Tiffany to kind of dive in.
Tiffany.
So what my job entails and what we do is that we service contractors, BIPOC contractors, running them through an accelerator cohort. And so one of our previous cohorts were the DECA, Diverse Electrification Contractor Accelerator Program, which actually is running for 2 years. And so now we're on the second year. I had to take 24 contractors and get them trained on how to install heat pumps. I did 12 the first cohort, and then now I'm doing another 12 the second cohort. I'm also running an Illinois Contractor Accelerator, and those contractors will actually be graduating on Tuesday, July the 25th, and we're hosting this time an in-person graduation at our main office in the cafe room.
Oh, I love that. And you mentioned heat pumps. Like that is something that people never knew about,
Right.
And now it is a big deal. And a heat pump does what?
Well, with a heat pump, it heats your home, but it's more energy efficient. It doesn't use fossil fuel to heat your home. It's a system that you hook up. It brings the outside air inside, and it filters that air, and it either can heat your home, or if it's the summer month, it cools your home.
That's what's so cool about it. We had a project, I think on the west side, where we got to see a woman's home.
Yes.
She had a home daycare. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And one of our local elected officials said, I just bought a new air conditioner. I wish I had known about it.
Yeah.
So we've really been on the forefront of this. How are you all preparing both contractors and residents of communities that have generally been under-resourced or not the first to be able to adapt these new technologies?
Absolutely. I think for the workforce side of the house, one of the things that we're intentional about is working with those community-based organizations who sit in the communities that are providing services to underrepresented populations. So that's one. We also want to make sure that not only while we're doing that work, that we think about mission-aligned organizations too, because we want to make sure that we're also just like on the same page as we're doing some of this work. And one of the things that we really think about is, what are the training programs? Right. What are the literacy and numeracy levels that people need to actually access foundational training? But when you think about how they're accessing advanced career pathways where they're interested and where necessary. So part of that Workforce Solar Training Program is really designed to help reskill, upskill, as well as think about how we're just introducing, again, those careers in the clean energy economy. So we do lots of information sessions. We're very intentional, Sylvia. We want to make sure that we're not just going to this community and just saying, hey, look, we're just going to provide some training because funds are available, but we're saying, where are the needs? Where are the people? And then what are the homes? As you think about heat pumps, as Tiffany kind of mentioned a little bit in that space, we're thinking about solar panels. How are we making homes more efficient when we think of those things? So the workforce side of the house is really introducing, again, reskilling, upskilling, introducing folks to careers in the clean energy economy. That also bleeds into some of the contractor development work as we kind of like roll into that, because we're also preparing those contractors who are interested in scaling their business. We're preparing their workforce, because one of the things that we're solving for is a skilled workforce when their business is actually ready to like, hey, look, I'm going from 300K to 3 million. What does that take? You're solving for different things at different levels. And I'm also just gonna kick it back to Tiffany too, because I know that she does a lot of work, direct work with those contractors. So just making sure that, I'm covering it and that there's always more to add. Good stuff.
Okay, so I do want to touch on how we do with the contractors. Even though Shirlondra touched on how she did with the workforce and participants, with the contractors, we prepare them by having them go through an accelerated program, and they have to attend a couple of workshops. And then within those workshops, it's geared to whatever that accelerator is about for that particular time. And then they have to complete the workshops, and then we introduce them to business support services that would help grow their business. Because let's face it, some of the contractors are embarrassed to really say where they're lacking in their business, because maybe there may be a small, like mom and pop company or something like that, and they're doing all the work of their business, being that they're the owner, they're doing the work outside, and they're keeping track of their files and filing system. And so we want to help them so that they can be more efficient within their business, also give them different things to teach them, like certifications and stuff like that. But I know we'll get more into that as we talk.
Well, and what I love about this, that I know, because I'm also an elevator, this sense of having listened to what people need, and starting with CEJA, the Future Energy Jobs Act. People who watch this program have heard us tease all of this and talk about it. Now we're actually with the folks who are making CEJA come alive and come into action, because you are training that next cohort of people to do the work. We say we want people to be able to see someone in their community doing this, not just on television. Now, when engaging contractors and participants, talk a little bit about your outreach, your onboarding and engagement. How do you make sure it is equitable and inclusive, reaching folks who look like us, reaching people who perhaps haven't had these opportunities?
That's correct.
Absolutely. Goes back to when I talked a little bit about like mission aligned, right? We want to make sure that the organizations we're working with are, one, mission aligned, and also we want to make sure that some of those that they're sitting in the community. That's super important, because that's where the trust starts to happen. So we also make sure, and I think that this will also bleed into some of the contractor work when we think about outreach, recruitment, onboarding, that the goal is to have two teams, meaning you will have a team of individuals who will interview individuals for a particular training, or if it's the contractor accelerator. But then the second part is having a selection team, because we really want to make sure that we're eliminating biases, and that's important. And from there, we also want to make sure that we're giving individuals time to tell their story. That's super important, because they're going to uplift for you in that moment. These are some barriers, these are some challenges that I've been having, and they need to have that space to be able to say, this is what I'm going through, so that you know how to better help them. So that's one. And then as you think about when we start to select individuals for this training, it's going to be super important to make sure you're giving them enough time to prioritize childcare, transportation, anything that would pose a potential barrier or challenge for them completing the program. So I think that we just thinking about the time that they need is very crucial, in the space that they need to be able to tell their story. And like I said, it kind of bleeds over to the contractor side when we think about outreach, recruitment, onboarding, interviewing, selection. But yeah, I think that that's super important. And I'm also gonna just kind of kick it over to Tiffany a little bit too, because I think one of the things that we also experience is how our contract, like the trust within the community when it comes to like contractors being, you know, from just being left out, you know.
Well, you all have transformational, not transactional relationships, but what do you want to add about that? Because I've seen you at events with the folks you work with, and there's a strong bond.
It is. It's a lot of more so kind of getting personal with the contractor, or giving them a sense of that you're available. I'm working a lot of times in the evenings as well as on the weekends, just to be available by phone so they can call me with additional questions they may have. Some of them, they don't want to feel incompetent. Maybe some of them are a little older, they haven't been using a computer. So it's like, don't worry about it, I'm going to help you, you know. They're trying to understand certain contracts that they're signing for projects that they're doing. We offer that type of service to help them to understand, so that they don't get in a situation where it's a legal situation, where that they signed something and then they were like, oh my goodness, I didn't know I was supposed to do that, because they didn't read it thoroughly. So we offer that type of service.
Well, and one of the things I think it's important to stress, this is an opportunity for people, some of whom might be returning citizens. You talked about people who might be older. Some people may have had a connection with the, you know, the justice system. Sometimes it seems like just us. And it is open to folks, no matter what their situation is, if they meet your other criteria.
Absolutely.
I'd love to ask you a little bit about examples of your work. I know I was at some of the projects that you've worked on, but you know, what would you like to share, either of you, about a moment that moved you or excited you?
Okay. Yeah, I think for me, I would have to say our most recent workforce development training, which was our Reactivate, and it consists of 6 international partners and around developing curriculum, providing intensive case management services. We just wrapped that June 9th, and the most amazing piece about this work is just, I felt that when we were at the table developing this work, no one was just an administrative assistant, no one was just an instructor. Every person at the table mattered to actually get this project off the ground. We were able to start with 12 trainees, we ended with 12 trainees.
That's huge.
And what's even huge was the biggest piece to this is that across the board, through 12 trainees, we also made sure that the instructors were certified. And so they took some of the courses with the students. And if you think about 12 trainees, 2 instructors, there were a total of 64 credentials that were obtained from this one 16-week training.
The paper.
Yes. Absolutely. And we made sure collectively that students who were coming to the intensive case management services meant we were on site. We made sure that we were addressing things, we were available. And I think a really proud moment for me and some of that work, get a little weak, in that moment is that over 50% of those students actually have employment opportunities. And they're not just, they're good jobs. We're talking good jobs, wages, family sustaining wages, with an opportunity to be able to access advanced career pathways. So that just warms my heart that, we see it as, okay, just 16 weeks and, we're just moving people through, but it's not that simple, and we don't want it to be that simple. because we want to make it tough. So.
Well, if you're just tuning in, this is Elevate, and we're elevating our stories. And we're talking with two of the people who make it possible for contractors to have jobs and to have businesses in the clean energy economy. And I can feel like the pride, and in church we say we get a little full. That happens when you're doing good in the world and work you can be proud of, because you're making a difference for families and for their communities. But for both of you, and Tiffany, this might come specifically to you as well, people think they have to do one type of job to be a part of this. Aren't there multiple roles that you can have that aren't necessarily climbing up, to install solar? What are the things that you can do, or the pathways for work?
That is a good question. So some of the pathways within the contractor part of it, they can either be HVAC certified, they can be a general contractor, they can have electrical experience, they can also have weatherization experience, know how to install heat pumps, be a mentor. And that's a good question, because I do want to address one of the things that made me so excited is that with one of my DECA contractors, diverse electrification contractors, which his name is Senyo, he not only graduated our cohort, but he also became a trainer within Elevate to train his own solar training class as well. And so with that being said, it was like, wow, he took it a step further. He didn't just stop in that spot. He went on and above, and he constantly keeps evolving. Even through my new contract accelerator that I'm running now, he comes and he's involved in a meeting. He's always available for contractors to talk to him, provide additional feedback, and just available assist in any way that he can. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, those are two great examples of your work and the impact it has on people. It is so important because climate change is coming for all of us, and we see it in extreme weather. We may not know all the scientific terms, but there's more floods, there's more droughts.
Yes.
As we're recording this, we had all that crazy smoke from the Canadian fires.
Yes.
People who haven't even been to Canada have some of Canada with them now.
Absolutely.
And so all of this ties in with with really important parts of life for folks. I want to come back to, though, the way you remove barriers. Sometimes people feel, you touched on it, like a little embarrassed, or you made a mistake in your life. Think about all the cousins and uncles that lost their job because they didn't have a ride. How did you come to decide to address those barriers up front and help people with success? And I'll give that to either of you.
Sure, I can answer that. So we use business support services. Like, again, some of them, maybe they didn't do their taxes right. So that's a barrier, because they're embarrassed to try to redo their taxes again going forward to do it correctly. And we tell them, no, we're going to pick up from here, and we're going to help you so you can file your taxes in the proper way, so that you can count all your exemptions and maybe possibly get something back within your business. So that's one of the barriers that's addressed. Another barrier is when the contractors are doing all the things within their business, as far as being an owner, the person that do the job itself, the person that's doing the bookkeeping. They may not know how to do accurate bookkeeping. So we help them in that area of making sure that their things are filed correctly, showing them how to get their filing system correct, how to even hire another employee as well, so that everything is not on them. And then ask them, do you have someone that you would like to be in your business, but you can't pay them, but they need some type of training so you can grow your business? So maybe like for heat pump training, the person that owned the business, maybe they didn't come for the training, but they sent someone that's in their company for the training instead of them. That's a way of growing your business, because you can send that person out to do a job to install a heat pump instead of yourself doing it.
That's really breaking barriers, because that's the fancy term of building capacity.
Yeah.
Correct.
And it also means that you're feeding, you know, two birds with one croissant, as I like to say. Well, we talked a little bit about this, about what excites you the most about your work, but looking forward, looking, you know, to the next few years, I can't believe how fast time goes by.
Absolutely.
We have all of this legislation, and we've got the Inflation Reduction Act, federal and state, local money. But what excites you? What big challenge do you want to face or take on?
Well, I tell you this. What excites me the most is that I'm actually changing not just one person, but the entire family. Through foundational as well as advanced career pathways. So one person,
means a good job. That's fancy
a good job, good benefits, good things, you know, just good job. And I also recognize that one person working in the household changes the entire dynamic. So for me, when someone calls and says, "Hey, look, I just got a job, and this is what I'm gonna. This is when I start. This is how much I'm making." That's so powerful, because I almost feel like I got a job too. Like, and the fact that they're just so excited about that, that's what excites me.
I love that.
I love that.
What about you?
Wow. Being able to impact a contractor business with all the services that we offer, for them to even think that, oh my goodness, Tiffany, I can call you at any time. You'll mentor me through some of my difficult times. You're sitting there trying to help me complete an application that I probably didn't quite understand. Or you have access to help me get my certification, whether it's ICC certification or my minority business certification. Or a big thing is that contractors all need is a capability statement, and that's like their resume with everything on there and maybe a picture or two of their work and references. They don't know how to put that together, but we have that within our wheelhouse as workforce contractor and development. And I'm excited for that.
Oh, I am so proud of you all. And I will tell all the news. You know, it's hard for me to keep secrets. They are not only professional women making a difference in our community, they, you know, have families. You know, they have the full package, because people can say, well, I've got this, or I've got my husband, or whatever. You truly are the role models, and we look so much at past history and, you know, way back when. We have women among us every day who are showing us how to move through the world. So we will put up how to reach you in terms of email and things like that. But what other ways can people connect with the work? I'll start with you and end with you.
Okay, so connecting with the work is being a part of our accelerators. You can also go to our Elevate website, and it'll have information on there about what Workforce and Contractor Development Department is doing. That's one of the ways. We are part of networking. I have contractor networking event. In fact, I just did one May 19th on the rooftop next door to our job, and it was a nice turnout. In spite of the rain, it still was a good turnout. They connect that way through those events that we have.
Great.
And
I'm going to give you 10 seconds, because she took more.
I'm sorry.
We love you. That's because there's so much to do, and you love your work.
You get excited.
I know.
You get very excited.
Similar to Tiffany, check out our webpage. Like, just kind of go through, see what you know, there's so much information there. Email is great, but just to get like a really good snapshot of what we're doing, I would say.
Thank you. We have elevators on the show all the time. We talk about CEJA all the time. This is really the core of the work and the changes we can see in the community. So thank you so very much.
Thank you for having us.
Yes,
Are
thank
you
you for
kidding?
having
You have to
us.
come back on. I feel like we've been teasing you coming, but Shirlondra Brooks, Associate Director of Workforce and Contractor Development, ta-da, and Tiffany McFerren, Project Manager of Contractor Development. When she says she's available, she does have a husband, but she works with her people, okay?
I do.
Thank you all so much. We'll get a visit from Ernie, the LED light bulb, and my co-host Amrit Such. for some seasonal tips in just a minute. Welcome back to Elevating Our Stories. Here's my co-host Amrit Such for some seasonal energy-saving tips.
Thanks for that, Sylvia. I'm going to pass it over to Ernie, our Elevate mascot, with some energy-saving tips. Take it away, Ernie.
Thanks, Amrit. Ernie here with some cool tips to help you save energy when you're washing your dishes and laundry. Refrain from running your dishwasher or laundry machine until you have full load so you don't need to run it as often. When you do run your appliances, try using a cold wash cycle. This uses less energy than hot water and can help you save energy on your bill. You can also save by air drying your clothes instead of putting them in the dryer. Consider purchasing a drying rack to hang your laundry. Well, that's it for my tips. Back to you, Amrit.
Thanks, Ernie. Speaking of summer tips, the extreme heat this time of year is always a safety and health concern for our communities. Isn't that right, Sylvia?
Absolutely. During the summer months when temperatures are at their highest, we all need to do our part to protect ourselves and the community that surrounds us from heat-related illnesses.
That's right. With that, we're going to take some time to share tips that can help you and your loved ones stay safe this summer. The first tip, keep the heat out. Prepare your home to stay cool during heat waves by sealing gaps and cracks around windows and doors. This keeps the hot air out and the cool air in. Our next tip, stay cool at home. During heat waves, you can prevent more heat in your home by using your oven and stove less. If you don't have central air conditioning, install window units and make sure to insulate the gaps around them. And our last tip, prioritize your health. Heat waves can have serious health consequences. On hot days, remember to drink plenty of fluids and avoid high energy activities. We hope you can utilize some of these tips to make your living situation more comfortable. Back to you, Sylvia.
Thank you, Amrit. Oh, what a great program. I hope you enjoyed it. We had our guests, Amrit and of course Ernie, the LED light bulb, Shirlondra and Tiffany from Elevate, and thank you for joining us for elevating our stories of opportunities in the clean energy workforce. I'm Sylvia Ewing. See you next time, and until then, follow us on social media and be well.